for our first question on the word problem practice for systems of linear equations is about money. It says that Veronica's been saving dimes and quarters. She's got 94 coins in all, and the total value is $19.30. How many dimes and how many quarters does she have? For all of these systems of equations, we're going to have two variables. So we're going to have an x and we're going to have a y. And we're going to need to come up with two equations. So for defining our variables, since the question's asking how many dimes and how many quarters does she have, let's make x and y our dimes and quarters. So x is the number of dimes that Victoria has, or Veronica has, and y is the number of quarters. Now for our equations, the first one, it says that she has 94 coins in all. We don't know how many dimes and how many quarters she has, but if she has x dimes plus y quarters, we know that the total is 94. So that's our first equation. And our second equation comes from the part where it says the total value is $19.30. Well, we need to think, what's the value of a dime? For every dime that Veronica has, it's worth 10 cents. So we can write out 0.10x plus the value of each quarter is $0.25. So 0.25y is equal to, her total value is $19.30. So now we have our two equations, so we can solve for our two separate variables. And you could use elimination or you can use substitution for this. I would not recommend graphing. So let's do substitution, since I know a lot of you are still struggling with substitution. With substitution, we have to rewrite one of our equations so that it solves for x or y. So let's take a look at the first equation and let's solve for x. So we would do that by subtracting y from both sides. So this could be rewritten as x equals 94 minus y. So if x is equal to 94 minus y, what substitution tells us is that if these are equal, which they are, that means that we could substitute or replace x with 94 minus y. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take this 94 minus y and we are going to replace x by the 94 minus y. So here in our second equation. So in our second equation, if we have 0.10, it used to be x, but now instead of multiplying by x, we're going to multiply by 94 minus y. And we have to finish up the rest of our equation. We have plus 0.25y equals $19.30. So we need to distribute over here. We're distributing 0.1 times 94 and times negative y. So that is going to give us 9.4 minus 0.10y plus 0.25y is equal to 19.3. Now on our left side, we can combine our like terms. We have negative 0.10y plus 0.25y. And that is going to give us positive 0.15y plus the 9.4 that we still have equals 1930. Now let's see if I can zoom out. Maybe not. Oh, yes. We can scroll down here. Ignore that. Okay. All right, so the smartboard might be smarter than I am. All right, so back to our problem. We are trying to solve for y. So we want to get y by itself, so we're going to subtract 9.4 from both sides, which will give us 0.15y is equal to 9.90. The last step to get y by itself is to divide both sides by 0.15. And that tells us that y is equal to, and you might want a calculator for this, 9.9 divided by 0.15 is 66. So if y is 66, if we go back to our top here, where we defined x and y is 66, so that means that Veronica has 66 quarters. Now we need to figure out how many dimes she had. And remember, we had this equation here. She had 94 total coins. If 66 of them are quarters, then we can figure out how many dimes there are by subtracting 66 from 94, which is 28. So that tells us she has 28 dimes. So that's the answer to our first question.